Hey, it's Terry Bean. We got another fun, exciting episode of Business Growth Time. Today, we're going to talk about how to increase your sales on Amazon. We got the leader in that space, Bashar Katou, going to talk to us about that. But before Janet introduces him, let me introduce you to Janet. And I have been pals for a long stinking time. We just had a big high school reunion. It was like Janet's 20th. It was my 30th, but it was Janet's 20th. I don't want to age her. So, you know Janet E.
Thank you, Terry.
Johnson? Are
It's
y'all
my
familiar
10th.
with
No.
her? It was you lying. It was more like our fifth.
Yeah.
So Janet E. Johnson is a wonderful Facebook ads manager. And if you're looking to grow your business with Facebook, you should be talking to Janet E.
Well, thanks for the
Johnson.
pitch.
Yeah, you like that? I don't do that
No,
often.
you don't.
I
But where's
should.
the E? You're off on this E thing.
Easy. I'm not saying that you're easy, Janet E. Johnson, because I don't think Jeffrey E. Johnson would be very
God.
happy about that at all.
All right, this is going off. Wow. Doesn't usually start like this, Bashar, but okay. Yeah, we're
Sometimes
out
it
of
does.
practice because we usually have an E for the E in Janet E. Johnson. So Terry's off today. Yeah, whatever. Okay, so
I have a good
easy.
excuse.
Well, I know Bashar is going to teach us how to do Amazon easily. So there you go.
Nice.
All right. So welcome, Bashar. I'm super excited. We've been friends on Facebook for a while. I have no idea how long, but that happens in our space. And I'm glad we got you on the show. So welcome.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I really appreciate you guys doing this. Honestly, it's definitely a pleasure, to being here with you guys. So yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, let me give you a proper intro and then let's get into it. So you are a serial entrepreneur who migrated in 2006 to the US, and we just kind of talked about you were in Michigan first, now you're in San Diego with his family after fleeing the war in Iraq to chase the American dream. After his restaurant burnt down in 2015, losing over 400K, wow, 3 years of life and being 150K in debt, Bashar was able to turn his life around when he discovered the digital world. Today, he is a seven-figure Amazon seller, has taught thousands around the world to do the same, and in fact, one of his top students went from 0 to 130K a month in under 8 months, and he also plans on launching a book and his speaking career in 2019. Bashar initiated a movement in 2019 called the Underdogs, DAWGS movement, with a mission to impact the lives of 2,500. His life goal is to create awareness of the missed opportunities and help as many people gain financial freedom. So once again, welcome. That's quite a background, and we need to get into some of that story. Pretty interesting.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, it all kind of started back when I was younger, really, looking up to my father, who was an entrepreneur. He actually, back in the 80s, 90s, he owned the second largest factory of clothing back home in Iraq. And to be honest with you, he was like my role model. He was who I wanted to be when I grew up, and he was like back in the 80s and 90s, when, especially in Iraq, when no one really traveled anywhere, was always traveling to different countries, going in and getting different like things for the factory, going to Spain, Korea, all these different countries. And honestly, I was such a young boy wanting to do all these things. Like, I know I always wanted to travel the world and kind of, own all these businesses, but unfortunately, by the time I grew up to where now I was aware of my surroundings, from like 5 to 8, 9, you're like still kind of not like, you don't know what's happening really around, But then when I got to about 11, 12, that's when the war on Iraq happened, 2003. And right after that, like we thought that everything was going to really be better, but things kind of became worse after. So there was really no future for us back home, especially being the minorities, being Catholics in a Muslim country. Things didn't really work out in our favor. So we had to really flee Iraq, and when we fled Iraq, we kind of left everything behind, the money, the factories, the houses, everything, so we kind of came out with nothing. And then after living in a couple of refugee camps for about a year or so, we finally made it to Detroit back in '06. And honestly, that's kind of when when things really changed, because now you can think that, okay, I can have a future, I can build a future, I can work on, the next 5-10 years, like now I know that I'm safe. I know that I don't have to look over my shoulder. I know that the next car passes by is not going to just blow up out of nowhere, right? And that was kind of the everyday life that we had to go through. We didn't know if you would go to sleep today, if you were actually going to wake up. Unfortunately, what happened was the first about 3 years of my life in U.S., 3 or 4 years of my life, I kind of spent it really just doing nothing, no purpose. It was like, when you're like held like captive for like a long time and then you just get released and you're like, yes, I just want to like go out there and do all these things, So friends going out, new life, it was like, oh, dude, this is cool, I want to enjoy it. Unfortunately, I enjoyed it for too long, too much. And then woke up.
Well, you were pretty young then, weren't you? I mean,
I was a teenager, right? I was a teenager.
Yeah, life.
Right. So I always felt like I was, I guess, destined for more. Like I always felt like I wanted to accomplish more in life, and I always felt like the world is like working against me. That like I'm running out of time. Even I was like only 16, 17, 18. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to accomplish so much more. And even like when I would like tell my friends like, oh, this is what I want to accomplish, this is what I want to do, they would kind of like laugh at me. So in 2011, me and my brother started our first business in the U.S. to really fulfilling our American dream. In that business was a total success. It was a local pizzeria, takeout pizzeria, and did very well. Now at a 20-year-old guy making about $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month, driving a very cool Cadillac, I felt like $1 million, right? I was like, okay, well, I am destined to be successful. I am the successful human being. Anything I touch is going to turn into gold, right? So it got to my head. In 2013, I went all in, my savings, my family's savings, and I opened this restaurant, right? I opened this restaurant, and for about the first year, my ego was bigger than this room. No, I would not let no one touch it. Like, this is me. I know what I'm doing. Don't tell me what to do. Just watch and learn, right? Well, about a year later, checks began bouncing. Vendors began wanting to sue. Landlord began wanting to kick me out because no one was getting paid. There was not enough revenue coming in. No new money was coming in. And then April 28th, 2015, 5 o'clock in the evening, I left to go on a date with my girlfriend, who's now my wife. I got a call saying, hey, the kitchen is on fire. And that's when I was like, okay, we got extinguishers, put it out. They're like, no, the fire department is here. It's pretty serious, bro. You got to come back. By the time I came back, my kitchen was totally destroyed. Everyone was outside. One of my unpaid bills was my insurance bill. So now I had no insurance. I had a restaurant that was burnt down. I had invested over $400,000 into the business over the course of the 3 years. And I got kicked out with $150,000 in debt because I owed the IRS like $42K. I owed vendors. Employees began suing me because there was like that last 2 weeks. No one got paid. I had no money to pay them. Just living in fear. Everyone texted me, I'm going to come kill you, blah, 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 like my employees. Like, you're doing all this to me. I'm like, bro, sorry, I just got no money. And imagine living with 10 pissed off employees in the same city. You know what I mean? Everyone has been paid. But that's when 2015 was a really dark year because 2 months later, I got a job as a dishwasher at Hilton Hotels after running a $500,000 establishment, managing tens of employees at once. Now I'm working as a dishwasher, just a nobody, part of
That's
like
humbling, yeah.
Kidding.
Right, definitely. And then shortly after, I started drinking heavily, got a DUI, another $10,000 incident.
Oh yeah,
with money I don't have. And really, 2015 was a very dark year, to be honest with you. But that's when I discovered the digital world, and that's when I started Amazon FBA. So
interesting. So what drew you to the Amazon? I mean, like, what was it that you saw? Somebody, some company, or what was it?
Absolutely. So before the whole restaurant thing burned down, I had been hearing the phrase "I work from home" often, and that was like on Facebook. Although I wasn't very like into social media at the time, I had a couple of friends doing that. I don't remember what exactly they were doing, but they kept saying, "I work from home. I work from home." And at the time, I'm like, "What does that mean? Like, do you work for someone? Is it a digital company? What is it?" They're like, "No, I have my own business." And I'm like, "Well, in my understanding, a business means that you have some type of a physical location. Either you or your employees are engaged in delivering a service or a product, and then you have customers that are receiving that service or product, and then the contribution is revenue for your business." So that was my understanding of the business. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Now I have all the time in the world to sit there and actually research this. I didn't have time before because I was working 120 hours per week trying to survive and trying to make that business happen. So I started researching. I found a couple guys doing like forex trading. I found a couple guys doing like real estate wholesaling. Then I think there was a couple other things, but the Amazon thing just popped out at me, right? I don't know if I knew if Amazon existed at the time. I'm not sure, but I knew that concept, just that whole concept popped out at me. And really what popped out at me was the fact I started like kind of rating statistics, and the fact that I had been seeing some retail stores shutting down, Best Buy's line for Thanksgiving getting shorter and shorter over time. So I knew, okay, now everyone is going from retail to online. That's probably where I want to be, right? And then the fact that it was passive, the fact that it was, you can literally, all you need is your computer and internet, like the fact that we can do this is incredible, right? Yeah. Like sometimes like we take things for granted, but when you kind of sit back and think, like sometimes I'll be live on Facebook and then I'll be like, hey, just like as you guys are tuning in, let me know what city, state or country you're in. And then I'll get people saying Albania, India, Pakistan. And I'll just kind of like sit back and I'm like, my God, like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I don't know when the internet really started and all this other crazy stuff started, but this wasn't possible. Like for me to be able to reach people in my local town, I had to go on paper. I had to do billboards. Like I used to do all that for my restaurant. And this stuff was expensive. Like I still remember when I went to do like radio ads. Oh my God. Like that stuff was incredibly expensive. I know I did it for my I know I did it for my grand opening, and like they ripped me another hole. I'm like, no, thanks, I'm good, So I knew I had to do something digital, right? Yeah. But the cool thing about Amazon was the fact that it's automated, it's passive, it's scalable.
Yeah,
you could do everything virtually. What we do is what I do is called private labeling, right? Which is simply like I'm not smart at all whatsoever, right? So all I'm doing is I'm doing what other people are doing, right? So what I do is I find products that already sells well on Amazon. I go to China. Well, I don't physically go to China, but I go to Alibaba.com, right? I find a manufacturer that manufactures that same product. So let's say this, right? Pen plus gear, right? This marker, whatever. So let's say my research will show me that this sells 500 units per month on average, right? And that the sell price is, let's say, $10 for a pack of 25, right? And then I can source this in China for, let's say, $2, ship it for another $1. And then what I do is I'll have my supplier ship this directly to Amazon and leverage Amazon's fulfillment centers to store my product, right? Ship my product when a customer orders and do customer service for me. So it's like, there's really not much I need to do, So when I first kind of became aware of the concept, and like literally the first month I did this, I did a little concept, a little bit more different, where it's called arbitrage, where simply just find products like brand name products, Pen plus Gear, this brand, and then I just sell it on Amazon under their own listing instead of creating my own listing. That first month, I and my girlfriend at the time made $1,200 in profits, and I was like mind blown. Like the fact that I can take a product, ship it to Amazon, list it, a couple hours later, get a customer order my product and not have to do anything. Like, I was like, where have I been? Like,
I started my business online marketing in 1998 selling on eBay.
Right.
So I know your world. I left it, but that was before Amazon existed.
Right.
And that was, my number one thing I hated to do was packaging stuff up.
Right.
Now it's totally different. What you're talking about, you don't even have to touch the product.
Right. Absolutely.
Which makes such a difference because it's totally digital. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And that's why, now like people ask me, oh, why are you coaching? Like, don't you have a multi-million-dollar Amazon business? And I'm like, yeah, but that's on autopilot. Like, I don't do any, like, I almost don't do anything there. You know what I mean? I have virtual assistants, like people in Philippines and Pakistan and Bangladesh. They're running my Amazon business for me. I don't even touch it. Now I'm teaching people. I mean, that's another source of income for me. And two, I also am creating awareness. Like the other day I went on a local Chaldean radio channel. We were talking about Chaldeans and stuff like that. Here in San Diego, we have a real large community as well. And like, I don't know if you know, but we're all about like liquor stores, gas stations, smoke shops, like this is what the Chaldean community does. You know what I mean? Like we're known to, now like they do supermarkets and things like that. So when I went on the Chaldean radio and I was talking about this stuff, like everyone was like to me, what are you talking about? Like especially the older generation, the younger generation. Yeah, they're like into real estate. A lot of them are, doing a lot of cool stuff online and stuff like that. But the older people, like it was a Facebook Live and everyone was commenting. And it's like, what the hell is this guy talking about? And then like literally after I finished the interview, I had an inbox full of people and people hitting me up on my phone like, what were you talking about? Like, show me what this is. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. It's about creating awareness that, dude, with the digital world, there's so much you could do. Like there are so many opportunities. It's incredible. Like when I still see kids working at fast food or doing the traditional 9 to 5 or whatever, it just boggles my head. But unfortunately, it's not their fault because they're just not aware yet. And like to me, like when I see people, like you're saying, you started in 1998. I don't know what the hell I was doing in 1998. I was only 8 years old, but I only became aware. I only became aware 3 years ago. So
Janet was only 8 then too. Don't think too much into it.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, I mean, it is something. You're exactly right. Yeah, you just had the awareness, woke up, and it's we all have the wake up phases in our life,
right.
Of being shown something that we didn't know. Like for me, it was right out of college. I mean, I had the degree, and then I ended up running into a network marketing company. I had no idea what that even was.
Right.
And so, like you said, suddenly people are like, what is this, online thing that I can do at home and that kind of thing. So this is great. I think this is something that, I'd love to see my kids do it type thing.
Oh, yeah.
I know for me, I could help them, but I don't want to, like, I have a different business at this point.
Right.
But the bottom line is, let's talk competition.
Right.
Because it's obviously since 1998, it's gotten a little more competitive because there are people out there doing that. How do you overcome that, the competition side of things?
Absolutely. Well, you see, people say that e-commerce has gone saturated. And I say yes and no. So yes, people are more aware now, meaning there are more people doing what I do, which is selling on Amazon or on eBay or on Shopify or whatever else, right? But you got to understand also the consumer side is more aware now. So there's more consumers aware now to go on these sites and buy. So less and less people are standing in line at Best Buy because more and more people are now going to, the onlines, to the .coms, to buying their stuff. People are now trusting their sites. Like I know as a person, 2-3 years ago, I hated shopping online because I, as a person, loved to touch, to feel, to see it. Like, sure, I have to put it on. I've got a weird body. I'm not in shape at all, like my body's all weird, so I have to like put it on, make sure that it looks good, right? So I have to like touch it physically. So when I had to go online, I'm like, I can't do this. Like I'll run to Vons, I'll run to Walmart, I'll run to Macy's, I'll run to these stores. That's totally cool. But now, like with my lifestyle, now I'm like, I don't have like an extra 15, 30, an hour to go waste at the mall to buy a new shirt, some pair of shoes or whatever. Now there are websites that I can trust, and the fact that Amazon is responsible for 53% of entire e-commerce. I mean, that's just mind-boggling.
They've taken over eBay a long time ago.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then what they've done is that they have really worked on the consumer side, on the consumer experience to create that trust. And that's why Amazon is getting tougher on our side. As a seller, they keep bringing out new rules and regulations because they want the consumer to be protected because more people know about it. And then, of course, there's the shady people and anything. So they want to make sure that they keep the consumer safe and secure, But once again, there's no competition whatsoever. Like, I always tell people, I'm like, bro, there are 2 million sellers on Amazon today and 330 million consumers in the US alone. Amazon has 12 marketplaces all around the world, Spain, UK, Germany. So just imagine how many people are there. And a lot of those 2 million people are not US sellers. They're sellers all around the world. So how is that even competition? I mean, there's like no way, It's like when they say like marketers, oh yeah, this dude is a marketer, that dude is a marketer, that dude, yeah, sure. But do you know how many businesses there are in the US or in the world that need marketing? Every single business needs marketing, whether if it's retail, B2B, B2C, whatever it is. There's the whole competition. I think when people think competition, they're thinking wrong. Like you can't think competition when you go into business. And unfortunately, a lot of these terms stop people from starting anything. And I think that's got to do with the mentality, and that's got to do with, am I going to just sit there and make excuses? Because if you are, I've got like a list of 1 million I can shoot at you right now. If you're just looking for an excuse, like 2015, when I was in debt, when I had just gotten a DUI, I was working as a dishwasher, there was 1,000,001 excuses I could have made, right? But what I did was I borrowed $7,000 from my dad. I dumped it on courses, right? I invested in myself, and then I started the business. And for the record, my first 3 products totally tanked, totally failed. But I didn't stop. I kept on going at it. And I had just lost a $500,000 investment. You know what I mean? Anyone in my shoes would have been like, yeah, I'm done with the whole entrepreneurship thing. Like, that's it. Just going to go get a 9-to-5. And did I think about it? Sure, a couple of times. But I'm like, hell no. Like, I'm not going to go get a job. Screw that. I'm not going to go and make some other asshole's dreams come true. I want this asshole's dreams to come true. You know what I mean? So I'm going to do me, right? I'm going to do me, not anyone else. And that's the thing. Like, a lot of people come up to me and they say, hey, like, I want to start, but I'm so scared. But I've gotten scammed, and this guy took my money and ran away. And I'm like, bro, part of business. Like, cry me a river, deal with it. You know what I mean? Just do it. Just do it. That's it.
It happened to me. That's part of what my business happened to me. The stuff, I didn't know I was selling fake stuff, and it got confiscated at the border. I'm like, oh, that was fake. Oh, whoops. I made all sorts of money doing it before it got confiscated, but
we're going to have a whole podcast on that. I can't wait. This is all new to me.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
I used to sell women's high-end clothing, and I'd keep an outfit every time. It was great, I was always getting new clothes. My friends were coming. Did you get a new order? Yeah, but yeah, made me a lot of money. But yeah, then it became tougher and tougher to get because it was kind of not real.
Because you're Shady McShades a lot. I had no idea. And I have to rethink my whole existence right now.
I get it, but that's the thing. What you're talking about is totally different. You don't have to worry about that kind of thing. And that's why, here's my second question to this is, you focus on Amazon FBA is what it's called, correct? FBA. What does that stand for?
Fulfillment by Amazon.
Okay, fulfillment by Amazon. Okay. So fulfillment by Amazon is what you focus on over training on how to open a Shopify store and that kind of thing and have your own store. And I've heard, and I've worked with some people Like I work with a gal who has her own products and she had an Amazon, yet she had her own store, and people have a hard time selling through their own store because you have to get the traffic, that kind of thing. And that's where I help. But why do you focus on Amazon? Like give the pros and cons.
So, so here's the thing. As I mentioned earlier, Amazon does 53% of the e-commerce business, right? So all you got to do really is just locate products that sell well on Amazon, and that's it, right? And then just make it, and then bam, put it in front of the right people. That's kind of what I learned, right? That's kind of where I started and kind of what I've stuck with. And honestly, that's like my early on years with entrepreneurship. I was always the kind of guy that I want to do this business and I want to do that business and I want to do that business and I want to do like multiple businesses. My father always told me when I was young, focus on one thing and just go with it, like grow it, like just blow it up. That's what he did with his company. He went into this company. One of his friends lent him money, to become a shareholder in this company, in this factory that had 29 shareholders that were doing nothing. Over about 2 years, he was able to pay his friend back and pay all of the other shareholders, kick them out, and raise the business 600% because he focused on one thing to grow it as massively as possible. And then that factory went on to becoming the second largest in the country. So that's kind of was one thing that I started realizing, and I just stuck with it. Like over the years, like you don't know right now, as I was on the podcast, as you were saying the question, I was reading an email from some tool that wanted to partner with me to kind of do some type of an affiliate thing. And I get those all the time. Like I get opportunities all the time. And unfortunately, I just have to push them off just to stay focused on one thing. Now, is like Amazon FBA does not define who I am. Like I don't want to do Amazon FBA for the rest of my life. It's just a vehicle to get me where I want to go, which is building my personal brand, my personality as a brand to become an authority in my space, right? And that's kind of what I'm working on. It's like Ty Lopez. Like Ty Lopez has 1,000,001 programs. Like he literally has a program for anyone, right?
He does. Social media management. I'm like, what?
Right.
You're not.
And it's funny because we only know of like 3 or 4, but really once you get inside of his ecosystem, he's got like 15 others that no one has heard of because he only promotes for the people that are already inside of his circle. So he doesn't need to spend so much on advertising. So, but he's an umbrella. He's like a company, like an LLC, and then he's got a bunch of DBAs under, you know what I mean? And then whatever he promotes, people will buy because people trust him to, I mean, a lot of people don't like him, but who cares, right? There's haters in everything.
Oh, yeah. The Ferrari thing. Yep.
Right. But, he's an umbrella. People trust him to whatever he promotes, whatever he does, people will buy because people know him. People recognize him. When Ty Lopez comes on your, news feed, you know who this person is. Whether you like him, love him, hate him, whatever, you know who this person is. So that's where I want to go. Amazon FBA is just a vehicle to get me there because today I want to be known as the Amazon guy. I want to, about 2 years ago, I met a marketer and he said, if people can't tell who you are in one sentence, then you're not doing a good enough job at telling people who you are. You know what I mean? So right now, that's what I want to be. And then after that, I want to kind of branch out into other things. And I already have a few ideas in mind that I want to go into. So you asked why Amazon. Number one is the fact that it generates over 53% of all online sales. Yeah. Number 2 is the fact that it does the whole fulfillment thing for you. Exactly. I'm not interested in boxing 100 boxes per day, run to the post office. I'm not interested in that, right? Mm-hmm. I want passive. I want passive because I've done the whole non-passive thing for way too long before I started this thing, and I hated it, I had 10, 15 employees, and on the outside it looked cool because I'm this dude that's running all these people, and you got people coming in and out, and we had events, and we got this massive business. But really, it was the upside was very little, and especially restaurants. In restaurants, your profit margins are between 7 to 10%. Although you're making so much money, but you've got so much more expenses. Just our insurances were crazy. That's why I didn't have it. But so that's why I chose Amazon.
Makes sense. Yeah. It's easier. I mean, it's simpler. You don't have to pay for the hosting, the Shopify store, and all that kind of stuff. It sounds like a much simpler.
Right, and then you also don't need to like know how to like do Facebook ads and this and that to run traffic and stuff like that. Now, the one bad thing is that Amazon is really selfish because they like to hold on to their customers.
They do.
So you don't get the customer information. You can't retarget to them. Although now we have figured out ways around that. But with Shopify, it's not easier, but you can build your brand a lot further, I guess. Although you can build a humongous. I mean, I know companies doing millions per month on Amazon, right? I mean, I know a guy doing like 2 million, 3 million per month on Amazon, right? So it's definitely, the opportunities are there. And honestly, regardless what you do, if you go on Shopify, Amazon, you do anything digital, being able to create a business they can run from this or a laptop computer, they can literally just pack it, put it in your backpack and then operate it from anywhere in the world. To me, I think that's incredible, you know?
Good point. Good point. Yep, exactly.
Bashar, I'm curious. Hold on a second. I'm taking a total left turn on this. I'm really curious, Bashar. What do you think would have happened had you paid the insurance bill?
I wouldn't have been here. Maybe, I don't know. You know, and I kind of discussed this in my speech yesterday. I run through these scenarios all the time. One thing I kind of have left out of my story, end of 2015. 2012 to 2015 was the green rush in California. Everyone and their sister were opening marijuana dispensaries and going into that, kind of industry, you know? So at the time, what I did was I borrowed $12,000 from who is my mother-in-law today, and I and one of my friends opened a marijuana dispensary because a lot of people around me were like getting super rich from it, you know? My bad luck. Well, I don't believe in luck. Actually, let me take that back. 2 weeks after we opened our dispensary, we got raided by the FBI, and that's another thing that I have on my record is that I have a misdemeanor of possession or whatever, aside from the DUI. So now I had lost the restaurant, got a DUI, got that, and then it's like, well, what now? You know, like, where the hell do you go now, you know? So going back to what you were talking about, like I got to circle back. So before I invested into the restaurant, I had about $200,000 in liquid cash that we had, you know, profited over the past, like the 3 years before that, when I and my brother were operating the pizzeria. So I kind of think back and I'm like, what if I had invested that money in the dispensaries? How many shops would I have had now? How many millions have I, you know, like when I kind of think about that. And then when I started the Amazon, I'm like, what if I had invested that money into Amazon and started Amazon in 2013 rather than 2016 with $200,000 in cash instead of borrowing $7,000 to really do this? You know, so those are all scenarios that I run through every time I want to look back. But honestly, the only part of my past that I'm interested in is the fact that I've gone through it. I am where I am. I am definitely a better person than I was 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I am better at making decisions. I am a lot stronger human being because I went through those experiences. I mean, I have like a library of stories that I talk about on my Facebook, you know, about things that I experienced, you know, like very short story. One of them was my parents had bought me a diamond cross, a diamond bracelet, and a diamond ring for different occasions, like my 18th birthday, 21st birthday, high school graduation, things like that. And one day we opened the restaurant and then my bartender comes up in my office and she says, there's a lady outside waiting for you. And that lady turns out to be San Diego Gas and Electric, right? And then she's like, there's a $4,000 past due bill. And then there's another $1,500 for this month. You need to pay right now or I'm going to go outside and shut off the power. And I'm like, will he take checks? And she's like, no, because last time he sent the check and it bounced. I'm like, okay. So there's about $6,000 that I need to come up with like right now. I look at my bank account, I've got like $980. That's a business bank, not my personal. I didn't even have a personal bank because I had no money to put in it, right? So I thought, okay, I go home and I borrow money from my mom. And I'm like, no, I've already done that like 3 times. I've already burnt that bridge. Okay, what do I do? I'm like, can you give me 2 hours? Cool. So I go home and I dig and I find these diamond things. Now, these things have cost my parents over $20,000, right? Like really cool stuff. So what I do is I go and try to pawn this stuff and I barely get like $1,500. I'm like, all right, screw it, I'm just going to sell it. This stuff sold for about $3,200. $20,000 worth of diamonds sold for about $3,200. I went and paid it. A month later, my power got shut down anyways because I had another bill that I couldn't pay. So like stories like that, I tell people and I can relate to them. They do say that people are emotional buyers and that you have to reach to where they are today and emotionally connect for them to bring them to where you are and try to sell them on your product. So I connect with people emotionally with my stories. Had I not gone through that experience, I wouldn't have these, these stories to tell.
Yeah.
So the only part of my past that I'm interested in is these stories, is the fact that I embrace it. I have learned from it to move forward, to create a better future for myself, my family, and people around me, and those that want to listen to me. You know what I mean? Like, you probably wouldn't have had me on this podcast had I not had the story of my restaurant burning down and all this stuff, and then you seeing it all over my Facebook and stuff like that. I don't know what you have. I'm not sure, but I think about these things all the time. But once again, I am here. If I had the chance to go do it all over again, I would have probably gone through it again.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's interesting. Yeah, no, it's life. I mean, here's the thing. Entrepreneurs, all people want to be an entrepreneur, like people go, oh, it'd be great. But the back end of it, I mean, holy cow, you've got to be willing to put up with a whole lot that people don't realize. People think because I'm in social media, I have like this social media, I have so many friends and whatever. I'm like, I'm sitting alone in my office most of the day. This is the most communication I get is talking through Zoom, So it's a world that people perceive differently sometimes than what it is.
People think entrepreneurship is this cool thing that I'm going to get to show off with. And like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. Like, this is so cool. Like, it's not cool at all. Not cool at all. Like, sleepless nights, being like fearing for your life, and the fact that you've given up everything to chase this one dream. Like, look, having a 9-to-5, you can always go back and you can always like make that check next week, next month, whatever, right?
Yep.
But when you have your own business, like right now, my business, man, I'm real sorry about this.
It's okay.
My throat is giving up on me. When you have your own business, you could literally, everything can go up in flames. Literally, it happened to me. And now you've got nothing, like literally you have nothing to really go in. So you've got to be willing to take the risk. And that's why when, like, I made a post about this a few days, sometimes last week. And I don't want to say I hate, but I despise those that come up to me and they say, what is the minimum amount of hours I need to put in? What is the minimum amount of money I need to invest and make $10,000 in the next month? And I'm just like, what are you talking about right now? Like, that's not going to happen. Like, stay away from me. I don't even want to talk to you anymore. Like, you're not the type of person I want to talk to. Like, no, it don't work like that.
Crazy. Yeah.
When I had my own restaurant, I was putting in 120 hours. And the other day, some guy made a funny comment about me saying that I work 120 hours. And it was like, that's not humanly possible. I'm like, no, it is when you're pulling 46 and 47 and 40-hour shifts with no sleep in between, you staying in at work for that long, It's very possible. It's very possible when you pull up to your driveway and because you're so tired, you just pass out on the wheel until about 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, So I've gone through all these things, and like I was so stressed out all the time that I would think, I'm going to go to sleep tonight and I'm not waking up tomorrow morning because something's going to happen to me while I'm sleeping. We're talking about I'm 23, 24 years old, no experience in life whatsoever, scared to hell because I have hundreds of thousands of dollars of my family's money on the line. And not just that, but I had promised my parents that I'm going to retire them, that I'm going to buy them a new house, that I'm going to buy them new cars. And now I'm gambling with their money. And I couldn't even look at, especially my dad. Like my dad is someone that I think very highly of. And when I would look at him in the eye, like I wouldn't be able to look at him in the eyes because I was failing every single day. I was failing, and that is the worst feeling of all, like losing the restaurant, losing the money, going to jail, all this stuff. Like that's all in one hand. And then failing my dad was a different thing,
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. Huh. Yeah, great, crazy. Question. You brought up going back to the, working minimum hours, whatever. Yeah, I get that, whatever, if I'm not worried about minimum hours or anything like that. But for somebody wanting to get in this brand new, how much would it take for them, like for an investment, or is there any? I mean, I know you did, but you said it was on coaches maybe, or is there an investment to do FBA?
Right. So look, I always tell everyone, if you want a passive income, if you want something that has high, really high up, kind of like an upward type, side that it can go as high as possible. This is a business. So people need to understand we're not spending here. We're investing, right?
Best. Yeah, totally.
What I do, which is private label, if you want it to be scalable, you need about $2,000 to $5,000 in liquid cash that you have access to actually be able to invest, because that goes into coaches, that goes into products, that goes into tools, that goes into software.
Got it.
If you really want to do it right, if you want to go for it. And sometimes like people say, oh, there's actually an investment. Like I need to invest in order for me to really do this. And I'm like, yeah, 4 years ago, I invested $200,000 in a business that I didn't know where the hell it was going to go. So you're worried about the $5,000? And that's the problem, is that the online world is awesome. It's incredible. The opportunities are endless, but it's also brought in a bunch of people that are broke, not in their pockets, but in their minds. Like when I call someone broke, it's not because they have a 9 to 5, not because, no. I don't judge people, but they have a broke mentality. You know what I mean? And before you try to work for yourself and become this entrepreneur and put entrepreneur on your Instagram, you need to, not exercise, but you need to train your mind that now I'm going into the investment mode, not spending mode. It's totally different. There's spending, there's investing, right? So yes, there's an investment that is needed. Now, I also teach another concept, which is called the arbitrage, which is what I really started with. And that needs really no investment. I also teach it for a very small amount of $7 per month. It's a mastermind group that I have. And I teach you how to make $1,000 to $3,000 per month with maybe like $50 to about $200. And it's just buying a couple products, flipping them on Amazon, using that profit to buy more products, flipping them on Amazon, and just like that. So you're pretty much buying like a couple of units at a time, flipping them, using that money to buy more units, and then flipping them. And that's how I started, and how I made $1,200 my first month selling on Amazon. So there are a couple ways, but the upside isn't as massive as private label. And neither is it as automated or as passive, because you actually have to like find the products, physically ship them and things like that, where private label, almost everything is automated, but there is some investment involved in the beginning.
Okay. Well, let's bring that into your products. So tell us where to find you, if somebody's interested in learning more, where is the best place to reach you, and tell us about your $7 a month program too.
Absolutely. So I am everywhere: YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everything. You search me at Bashar J Katou. That's BASHAR space J space Katou, Katou. My storefront is Facebook. I'm really active, a lot more. I don't want to say more active, but I started all platforms at the same time. Facebook took off for me a lot faster than everything else. Why? I have no idea. But like I'm more engaged in Facebook. I check my Facebook inbox a lot more often. So I always refer people to follow me on Facebook. If you like to learn about what I do or how I do what I do, just reach out via Facebook. I have like a 20-minute workshop where I explain how the concept works. And then I prompt you to schedule a call with me to discuss if this is a good fit, if you have further questions, if, you have some misbeliefs that you want broken down, you want some more information, and also figure out if I and you are a good fit to work together personally. That's for the private label side. I also have the $7 a month mastermind. Once again, there's a link right on my page when you first jump on my Facebook page, either in the banner at the top or also on the default picture, whatever that thing is, the featured picture. Yep. It's the $7 mastermind. If you just click on there, it'll take you to that page. You can literally get started selling and earning from Amazon as quickly as like the next 3 to 5 days. It's that simple and that easy, and anyone can really do it. You don't need a whole lot of money to come up, to put in up front. And I only charge $7. You can literally pay $7 the first month, learn it, cancel the subscription. That's it.
That's cool. Very cool. That's awesome.
Wow. How'd you pick $7?
I don't know. I followed people that are in the market doing this that are successful. I found that $7 is really something that anyone can afford. It's 23 cents a day. If you think about it, if you can't afford $7, then there's a bigger issue. But it's something that anyone can afford, and I really want to help people from all over the levels of where they are financially. Like my coaching program is a more of a one-on-one, a more expensive thing. But I was like, okay, so I'm helping these people, but then what about everyone else? Like, what about them? Like, I was here when I first started. I didn't start with this like here. I started right here, right? So I can't just forget about everyone else. Like, I can't forget about me 4 years ago. So that's why I created this program. It's really simple, really short, to the point. But it helps you how I got started and how I made $1,200 my first month selling on Amazon.
It's a lot of money. It'd be a lot of money for my kid. I mean, like it's great.
It's a good trade. If I gave you $7 and you showed me how to make $1,200 and I made it,
there you go.
I'd be like, you'd be my new best friend. That's awesome, man. Very cool.
Great. Oh, well, that's great. Okay, lots of places. Facebook's the main thing, main place to get a hold of you. Any last words, Terry? Any last questions?
I think it's cool, man. I think it's cool. The research part seems like the big thing, right? Figuring out how to find where to spend time and do the investment. And I assume that's covered in your program?
Absolutely, man. So really the product research part is the most vital and also the most time consuming, but we have also kind of hacked that where we now outsource product research to other like freelancers and things like that we trust in the industry. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the program is A to Z, how to become a successful Amazon seller. In fact, that's one thing that I always forget to mention. I don't know why. It's a massive accomplishment, but one of my top students have gone from 0 to $130,000 a month in under 8 months selling on Amazon using my methods. So, I mean, they work. I know they work. So
that's awesome, man. Well,
yeah,
good. All right, Bashar.
All right, well, let's finish it up. We have all our past podcasts are businessgrowthtime.com/podcasts. And this is number, I think I was setting it up 137, I believe, but I'm not positive. So yeah, we're getting up there. So thank you so much, Bashar, for joining us, and look forward to teaching our audience all about the FBA.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot.
All right, bye.